The psychological aspect affects both us and our relationships. Generally, the goal is to successfully face the psychological challenges of moving abroad. That should make us and our relationships stronger and more resilient. You will need to keep in mind three things: your mindset, the stressors that come along with moving abroad, and the trailing spouse syndrome. Let's dive a bit deeper into these issues. The first issue is our mindset. What we think and how we feel towards the move are key factors in how we'll handle it. They will affect our mood, our mental health, and our relationships with others, our spouse in particular. When my wife first shared her desire to work internationally, I supported her immediately. It was important for me to be a supportive husband and make sure that she can pursue her dreams. I was a part of this decision every step of the way, but honestly, I did not fully understand the implications. Remember what I mentioned earlier about the timing of our first move, when I was on the verge of reaping the fruits of years of hard work? It was very frustrating. I remember a conversation with a close friend of mine a few months before moving to Africa. I shared my anger and my sense of loss. The sacrifice I was making had given me a sense of entitlement. I told him that from now on, no matter what I ask of my wife or what we argue about, I will always have an ace in the hole. She owes me. He listened to my complaints patiently and waited for me to finish my rant. Then he told me that even though I am sacrificing a lot for my wife's career, even though I did not understand the implications of my decision at the time, I should basically just suck it up and own my decision. I had a part in this choice, and I wanted to be a supportive husband. If I'll keep sulking and treat our marriage as a competition where I always have the upper hand, our marriage will not last. It was hard for me to hear this. It took some time to let go of the anger and sense of self-righteousness. But ultimately, it was the best moving abroad decision and even the best relationship decision I have ever made. In fact, the only time I ended up using my ace in the hole was to make sure that whenever we argue, we can calm ourselves down and just trust that we have each other's best interest at heart. Owning my decision to support my wife also allowed me to think of moving abroad as an adventure and embrace this new chapter in life, to try and make the most out of it. I believe this is a better, healthier, and happier approach, and I encourage you to embrace it as well. Another issue is stress and uncertainty. There are generally many stress-inducing events in life, each raising our stress levels as human beings. When moving abroad, some of them occur simultaneously. We always move to a new country and culture where we may not speak the language. Usually, we also quit our jobs, and if we're lucky, start a new one, or perhaps even retrain and start a new career altogether. In many cases, we can't work abroad at all and become unemployed. Another common change is having a baby while abroad or becoming a full-time parent. Some of us become financially dependent to some extent, and we may find ourselves in a very frustrating and scary place in life. What makes it even harder is that we almost always leave our friends and family behind and have no one to talk to about all of these changes. When there's a major time difference, we can't even talk to our friends and family over the phone as often as we did. All of these stress-inducing events affect our relationships with our spouse and other family members that moved with us, either our children or, in some cases, parents, putting a lot of strain on these relationships. We should also keep in mind that our children or parents that move with us also have their own struggles with settling in, and we want to be there for them, to help them. All of these are major stress factors, and handling even just some of them at the same time is a lot for anyone to handle. Remember to be kind and compassionate with yourself, and if you feel overwhelmed, seek help. International companies sometimes offer therapy or cover its cost. Even if they don't, therapy in a time of crisis is a good investment. There are many therapists and personal coaches that specialize in helping expat spouses and are available for you online in your language. Even though it can feel like it, know that you are not alone. You are dealing with something that is objectively very hard, and getting help when needed is important for you and for your family. All of the stressors I mentioned earlier can result in the trailing spouse syndrome. It is not an official condition or diagnosis, but as some expat spouses experience it, I think you should be aware of it. The general idea is that when we experience so many changes in our lives all at once, we may feel overwhelmed. We may lose sense of who we are in the world. Let me explain. Before moving abroad, we have a daily routine. We have a familiar world and we know our place in it. Moving abroad includes so many changes all at once that it makes it hard for us to know our new place in this new world. We need to fill in all the missing pieces from our previous life, and that is why settling in usually takes between 6 months and a year. All of this is completely normal and is even expected. Establishing our own social and professional life abroad can help with this issue, and generally is good advice for an expat spouse. This is also why our spouse, the one we moved for due to their career, has a somewhat easier time of settling in. They already have some pieces filling in since day one, like work and meeting their colleagues every day. This difference between us and our spouse can also put some strain on our relationship, especially if they have a full day of work and we're stuck at home without anything to do. They come back home tired and may want some time for themselves, while we finally have a chance for human interaction, or at least a chance to interact with an adult. This may cause some arguments between us and them. Some common tips that can help with that include learning a language together, going to couples counseling before or during the move, and scheduling date nights in advance. If you feel like it's relevant for you, look up the term trailing spouse syndrome to learn more about it. As I am not an expert on this important matter, I just wanted to make sure you are aware of this issue and that you know what to look for if you're in need of assistance. I want to emphasize again the importance of our mindset when moving abroad. If you don't remember how it should relate to the trailing spouse syndrome, I urge you to go over it again. The right mindset is important and can help you with many of the struggles of moving abroad. Okay, let's move on.